Hello and welcome to Gazzetta Football Korea, your beginner's guide podcast all about South Korean football. I'm your host, Martin Jones. With me today are Korean football experts Hoo Yumi. 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요. Nice to be back again.
Good to see you. And also with us is Tom Clark.
Hi, mate. Nice to see you, and looking forward to catching up with Yumi, hearing about where she is and what she's been up to.
Yeah, Yumi, tell us about that because you're not in your usual location.
No, I'm actually at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium at the moment, getting ready to cover the North London derby today. So Spurs against Arsenal. Hopefully it's going to be a better match than the one I went to a few days ago, Bournemouth Spurs. That was a terrible match. We didn't even bother with Son's interview at the end, but today is going to be so much better, isn't it?
Absolutely. Let's not talk about the Spurs Bournemouth and Spurs Everton games, but yeah, you hopefully today's Tottenham Arsenal will be a good one, and Son will put on a show for you.
Hopefully.
So just to set the scene, as we record this, how long until kickoff at the stadium?
About hour 15 minutes. Yeah, so we're only allowed in the stadium about 90 minutes before the match. So I've only just come in. So yeah, exciting times at the moment. There's only a few of us who are allowed in, but all spaced out and also social distancing in place and everything.
What about the security and protocols?
Yeah, we have to get our temperature tested each game. There's a COVID questionnaire that we health questionnaire that we have to fill in before the match every time, and obviously bag searched and everything is normal, but I think that's about it. Yeah, so the temperature check and the health questionnaire, that's different. Yeah,
good stuff.
But it's all very well organized over here.
Excellent. Well, good to have you back. You've now got to go and do a couple of things, but you'll be joining us later on in the recap for the Ulsan Daegu game and also the predictions. So we'll come back to you then. But in terms of what we've got for you on the podcast this week, well, not quite the goal bonanza we had in Gameeweek 10, but still a lot to go through, and a surprisingly tricky weekend for the Big Five, as I'm calling them now. And some results in there that have shaken things up a bit, and also the bottom half looking very competitive as well. We'll bring you up to speed with all the late goals, strange decisions, red cards, and yes, Tom, I'm afraid some goalkeeping errors. But before we get into that, a couple of quick updates. First of all, the FA Cup draw. We've got the games for the round of 16. They're taking place this coming midweek. And we previously mentioned Gwangju, Korea Hydro and Nuclear Power FC, team down in K3. They do have some recent cup pedigree. As we said last week, they got to the semis last year, knocked out by winners Suwon Blue Wings. The third tier was restructured a bit for this season, but otherwise it would have been effectively an all K3 final if they got through, because Daejeon at Korail were the other team that got through. Will we see a repeat? Tricky, because they're away at Ulsan Hyundai. Daejeon Korail at home to FC Seoul, so slightly more of a chance there. However, teams like FC Seoul may well be focusing their attention on the cup with the league seemingly gone for them. We've got 3 all K1 matches. Daegu at home to Seongnam. Gwangju at home to Gangwon, which is a repeat of the K1 fixture from this weekend. So that'll be interesting for them. And Sangju at home to Pohang. Tom, any chance of any cup sets here?
Yeah, I can see Jeju possibly beating Suwon. Jeju had the weekend off as well because their game was called off due to fog. There was a couple of pictures doing the rounds on social media, and it was just unplayable. So the players will be nice and fresh. And of course, Suwon have to fly down to Jeju. It's an island off the south coast of the country. So yeah, I could see a Jeju win there. Daejeon will definitely fancy their chances against out-of-form Seoul as well. Daejeon are second in K2, just 1 point off the league leaders. Only lost 1 in the last 5, so I think they'll fancy their chances. And K2 league leaders Suwon FC will probably give Busan a good game. So I think we'll see at least 1 cup upset. What do you reckon, Yumi? Can you see any of the big boys losing in the cup?
Do you see a cut set in this? I can see kind of the big boys kind of having a field day. Maybe well, Suwon Jeju, I see a Suwon win there as well. Sangju Pohang, maybe kind of might be an interesting one.
Yeah, I agree. I think that'd be a good game. I'm not sure who winning that would be an upset, but yeah, I think that would be a good game between those two.
Because they're quite similar teams, aren't they? Yeah. But other than that, I see the big boys winning it.
Yeah, just looking at the fixtures, I mean, there are no all K2 or all K3 fixtures, so conceivably we could just have all K1 teams in the next round. I mean, how will the K1 teams be approaching this? I mean, if you're Ulsan and Jeonbuk, will they be going all out for this to try and do the double, or will they take their foot off the gas?
Ulsan trying to focus on the league first. That's going to be their priority. But anything other, like they're not just going to have like a weakened team in the FA Cup. If they will get far in the FA Cup, it's going to be a bonus. But I see Ulsan focusing on the league at the moment.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I don't see a reason why Jeonbuk wouldn't put a full strength side or a very strong side out, because they don't have the Champions League games at the minute. So, it's not that many games in the cup that they will have to play. And, players like Veldvik, their new signing who has barely played this season, he's a very good player. He's not getting game time. So it will be time for him to play. But that doesn't massively weaken them. So yeah, I agree with Yumi that Ulsan will be, they want the league more than anything else. But I think everybody else would love a cup victory.
Yeah, I think Jeonbuk have the strength in depth to be able to have that kind of good, strong team out. But I don't think Ulsan can afford any injuries to the best 11 they have, just because of where they are. They need to play catch up. But yeah, I can see Jeonbuk having a very strong team out because they can afford to do that in their squad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff. All those games will be taking place midweek, so we'll update you, listener, on that next week. Yumi, I just wanted to ask you if you had any news on fans back in the stadiums at all.
Yeah, I saw up to last week they were saying probably from July, mid-July, end of July, they're going to slowly let fans back in because it's already happened in Japan. The J-League, they've had games where like maximum 5,000 capacity, they're taking it slow. So they were going to take a similar approach, but news coming out last few days, they're going to stop that for indefinitely for now. I think they're going to focus on trying to finish this league first, but letting fans in, they've stopped plans for now.
Oh, that's a shame. That it was hopeful a couple of weeks ago, but yeah, it seems to have been put on hold for now.
Right, let's get stuck into our Game Week 11 recap. Some fun games to get into this week. We'll go through these in chronological order. First one, Friday's game, Busan iPark at home to FC Seoul. One of the more routine results this game week. Busan in 6th, very respectable, 8 points from their last 5 games. Looking terrific in their 4-2 win over Gangwon last week as well. FC Seoul in 9th. They came back from 3-1 to draw 3-3 with Suwon Blue Wings in the super match. Busan had only beaten Seoul once in their last 10 K1 encounters. But here they made it 2 from 11.
Yeah, it was a good win for Busan as well. They defended well and they took their goals nicely. The first half was pretty quiet. The highlight for me was the most pedantic refereeing I've ever seen. He genuinely stopped the game to make one of the players, I didn't see which player it was, but to make one of the players pull his socks up, but not like round from his ankle up to his knee. It was like a centimetre. It was just what was the point? It's like Jack Grealish will never ever go and play in the K-League after watching that. He just couldn't survive out there. But yeah, that kind of summed up the first half. That's the only thing that sticks in my memory. Second half was a lot better to watch. Kwon Hyuk-kyu opened the scoring around about the 60th minute. It's very like FIFA Pro Evo style goal with a lovely pass in behind the defence from Homelu perfectly weighted, split 2 defenders and drew the keeper out as well. So Lee Dong-jung, who came off the right wing, he beat the defenders to the ball and he got there just before the keeper did and squared it for the 19-year-old Kwon to score his first professional goal. It was a simple enough finish between 2 defenders for him, but it was a really nicely worked move. And it was just the pace on that pass that, the keeper came out to narrow the angle to stop the shot. And then it was just, once the pass had gone past him, then it was a pretty simple goal. But yeah, really good. And then, the second came a few minutes, 2-3 minutes later. Lee Dong-jung adding a goal to his assist. He's a Korean fantasy football player's dream. It's a lovely move again from Busan. The left back, Park Jun-gang, was set free. He'd already battled a bit to win the ball, and then he was set free from it was a cheeky back heel from Kim Song-jun, which gave him some space, and then he cut it back perfectly for Lee, who'd made a really good late run and just a relatively simple finish for him. But again, it was a really nicely worked move with a couple of perfect passes. 2-0 was a relatively comfortable win in the end. Seoul offered very little in the final third. They were unable to break down obdurate Busan midfield and defence. Two banks of 4 that they didn't look like conceding, to be honest. And a good win.
And with I just wanted to ask you about Busan, because early on in the season we weren't really too sure what to make of them, and I think most weeks we were saying that they look good, they look resilient. But I remember you saying that's all well and good, but they need to start winning some games, and they've started doing that, and you can see the progression in their results. So start the season in May, there's some tough fixtures, but they got 2 draws, 2 losses. June they got their first win, albeit against Incheon, then a few draws there as well, and then a loss to Gwangju. In July, it's been all wins so far, and I was looking at the fixtures, and they could win all their games up to Daegu on the 26th, which would be a tough one. So, I don't know, what do we make of Busan just at the moment? Do you think they're capable of breaking into that kind of elite group of 5 at the top of the table?
No, I don't. But I agree with what you said. At the beginning of the season, we were often saying, they looked good, but then they didn't get any points, or they got a draw, and they got to turn some of these draws into wins, and they've started to do that now, which is credit to them. I think with the first few weeks of the season, there was issue of fitness but that goes for everybody as well. But it was a long time without playing games, and they've started to turn those draws into wins and move up the table. I think they're very much a mid-table side, but not. No, I don't think they'll be in the top 6 come the. We're halfway through the first half of the season, and I don't think they'll be in the top 6 come the end of the next 11 games.
It's funny because I criticised them quite a lot after their draw against Seongnam a couple of weeks ago, and I went on a little bit of a rant against Busan and saying how they really need to go forward and press for goals. And do you know what? Since then, scored 6 goals. So
must be listening to you.
Yeah, almost certainly. The other player I wanted to ask about, you mentioned him a couple of times there in his fantasy football stats, Lee Dong-jun. I obviously, like most of these players, I'd never even heard of them before the start of the season. And him, he kind of slipped under my radar until 2 games ago in that match against Gangwon. He looks like a quality player.
Yeah, he is a good player, and he had an excellent game on the weekend. A goal and assist. You can get a goal and assist. Some assists are like Yang Vertonghen's for Son Heung-min's goal. It's a pass in your own box, and then somebody else does all the work. But no, it was Homelu, probably, I think Americans call it the pre-assist, don't they? But Homelu's pass made that goal, but then it was a really good run and a pass, and then his goal again was a very well-timed run from him, a relatively easy finish, but he still got to finish it. And the last few weeks he's impressed all season, but the last few weeks particularly so.
Yeah, good stuff. Well done to him. And his Busan side took that game 2-0 against FC Seoul. And despite their win, Busan actually dropped to 7th. But after a tough start to life back in K1, they found a cutting edge and are progressing nicely. FC Seoul stay in 10th. Right, let's move on to Saturday's games. Where should we start? Well, let's start first of all with Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors at home to Seongnam. Jeonbuk were in first, Seongnam were in 11th. Seongnam struggling to score recently. Also, their defence, which had previously been solid, shipped 4 goals at home against Pohang last game week, which was a bit of a worrying sign. That said, while Jeonbuk were top, they hadn't been blowing teams away like Ulsan, Pohang and Daegu had. But it was Seongnam's attack that got things going here, and they grabbed a point. Tom, your Magpies.
Yeah, well, last week, I think words we said, but this should be a relatively easy win for Jeonbuk. I'm pretty sure that was the prediction. And then, yeah, they were 2-0 down. Opener was a lovely long-range effort from Jaewon, so 3 minutes on the clock, curled it into the top corner. The keeper did get a hand to it, so probably be a little bit disappointed in himself that having got there, he didn't put something more onto it. But I don't think take away from the finish, it was a good goal. And the second came with the last kick of the half. It was a nice team goal, a pass in behind the defence from Lee Jae-won for the overlapping Lee Tae-hee, who pulled it back perfectly for Park Tae-jun. It was just a really nice, really well-worked goal. And, I mean, at 1-0 at half-time was still pushing it for Seongnam because they went ahead and then they were just defending a lot and Jeonbuk were pushing. But 2-0 was a real shock at half-time.
At halftime, I looked up the stats on this one, and Seongnam had actually scored as many goals in the first 45 minutes against Jeonbuk as they did in all of June. And 2 of those June goals were a penalty and an own goal. Also, these were the first goals that Jeonbuk had conceded at home all season as well. So this was very much against the form, but really.
Yeah, well, and probably, to be honest, against the run of play in that game as well. But yeah, Jeonbuk had been by far the greater attacking threat. So even at half time, we weren't writing Jeonbuk off for sure. We weren't thinking, okay, this game's done and dusted, not by any stretch. And it didn't take long in the second half before Han Gil-won's well hit shot got them back into it. The debutant Jeon Sung-hyuk probably should have done better in goal. He got his hand to it, but it was a good hit. And then the equaliser came via a deflection, and no blame on the keeper for this one. He was just totally wrong-footed by it. And then Jeonbuk were just all over Seongnam for the last 20 minutes or so. They just couldn't get the goal. It's a combination of good defending, poor finishing, and a good save from John, which kept them at bay. It kind of made up for his mistake with the first goal. So a mixed debut for him. And had Jeonbuk got the winner, it would have been deserved, I'd have to say. They were attacking the entire afternoon. So, Seongnam's defensive effort, you can say, all right, give them credit for the point. But yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, Jeonbuk seem to have been grinding results out quite a lot. They haven't been like hugely impressive in smashing teams. So it's one of those, well, it was kind of coming that they were going to be dropping some points at some point, but I certainly didn't see it in this game.
No, I don't think anyone did really. Your final score there: Jeonbuk 2, Seongnam 2. Seongnam stay 11th. The 2 wins and 2 draws they got in the first 4 game weeks, looking back at it now, could be crucial to their hopes of avoiding relegation. Also, Seongnam became the first team to take points off the champions at home. Jeonbuk ended this weekend in second, thanks to this, as we will come on to later. Okay, moving on to Pohang Steelers at home to Suwon Samsung Blue Wings, also on Saturday. Pohang were 5th coming into this game. 3 wins and 3 clean sheets in their last 3 games had established them in that elite group of 5 at the top of K1. Suwon were 10th after their point from the super match last weekend against FC Seoul. The Steelers were favourites, but the Blue Wings came away from the Steel Yard with a point.
Yeah, with 3 matches all on simultaneously. This was your pick of the game, wasn't it, Martin? So why don't you tell us about this one?
This one, yeah, I mean, it seems to be a bit of a theme, certainly this game week, of first half. I mean, other than Seongnam, not really much going on in the first halves in these games. Pohang maybe edged it slightly, and it's funny, we were messaging about this, and I was saying this game's pretty boring, not much is happening. I go and put on my Pohang hoodie, see if that can somehow transmit some positive vibes, and completely backfired because on the 38th minute, Suwon went ahead, and it was a cross from the right, and then Kim Min-woo coming in from the left for Suwon with a header. He didn't head it at goal. He headed it cleverly back inside to Adam Taggart, who was typical poacher on the edge of the 6-yard box, and he stooped to nod in the bouncing ball. I mean, Kim's header, it was a good header. It was well placed, but it wasn't very powerful. And Kang Hyun-moon in goal for Pohang. He came out to intercept it, which was fair enough. It was there to be claimed, but he went with his feet when it looked like he could have dived onto it and caught it. And Tom, yeah, I mean, this is a bit of a running theme, but you weren't too impressed with Kang here.
No, it was awful goalkeeping. I don't want to keep banging on about it, but I really do think the level of keeping in the league is not great. And we just said, in the Seongnam game there was a goalkeeping error, and this was a big mistake here, and there were others in other games as well. It is something that really has been getting on my nerves a little bit recently. I think it's letting down some of the other quality play. I mean, here Kang has been in great form. He's kept a lot of clean sheets recently, and he had a man of the match performance a couple of weeks ago. But this is just such a bizarre decision. Like you say, the ball was there for him to intercept, and it should have just been a really straightforward catch. He just dives forward and catches it. Imagine he's playing cricket and he's in the slips. You just go forward, you take it. Simple. Why he went with his foot, I'll just never know. And it looked like he got caught in two minds. He couldn't move his legs quick enough to get in position, so he stuck a foot out instead. And it was just, you're just gifting a goal from absolutely nothing. There's just no way that they should have been conceding from that position.
Yeah, bit of a mistake. I'm not sure what he was even thinking he would be able to do anyway, even if he blocked it with his feet, because there were players in front of him and strikers around. But anyway, that made it 1-0 to Suwon, which they took into the break. Second half, as in lots of games, the intensity went up a bit, and then 15 minutes in came the equaliser for Pohang, and it was Song Min-kyu powering in at the far post to get on a lovely dinked cross by Palacios. Good goal for Song, and I'll come back to him in a second. But shout for Pohang penalty a moment later. There was arm contact, but it was from close range. Defender couldn't really do anything about it, and arm was down in a natural position and within the silhouette. And then on the 83rd minute, goal for Suwon. Well, at least that's what we thought. Kim Min-woo, across from outside the box on the left-hand side. Keeper, again, I'm not sure about his decision-making here, but he came out to punch it and then somehow gets taken out by one of his centre-backs, Kim Gwang-sok, who came flying into him. I'm not sure what he was trying to do. But anyway, ball just bounced into the box, and then Kim for Suwon just volleyed in the loose ball. And I wrote down in my notes for this, long VAR check, but goal rightly given. I went to make a brew, and I came back, but it was still 1-1. So it was a weird one. I mean, it looked like Taggart. So Taggart wasn't really involved in the play. The cross had gone over his head, but it looked like he was fractionally offside when Kim put the ball in. And I mean, the keeper was sprawling on the floor, so the keeper couldn't really have done anything about it. But Taggart may have been kind of in his eye line. There was a graphic that came up, and it said goal in English and then something in Korean, which I guess must have been disallowed. But the goal was disallowed, and it seemed very harsh, I thought, for Suwon. Even as a Pohang fan, I thought that was a bad call.
Oh, absolutely! It was a dreadful call. I mean, he was fractionally offside. That was, and that's what the Korean commentators were explaining, and probably the caption that you saw. I didn't see that, but I assume that's what it would have said. And yeah, he was slightly offside when the shot came in, but he was not interfering with play at all. He was not obstructing the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper, like you say, was taking a huge whack on his back from his own defender. There's just no communication, and he was lying on the floor, and he was never getting there. He was not obstructed. He was not blocked. It was, I mean, it should have been a goal. It's really bad refereeing, and even when it's gone to the VAR, then they've still, and he went to the monitor to look, and they've still ruled it out. Strange decision.
Yeah, a couple of strange decisions this game week. It feels like, and we'll mention a few others when we go through the roundup. But I mean, Pohang got away with one with that decision, but then again, the goal they conceded was through an error, and it finished 1-1 in the end. And I think a draw was probably a fair result. That was my take, at least. I think probably because neither team did enough to win it. And I think Pohang at the moment, I mean, I mentioned last week, Gangwon are very much like Bournemouth, or at least Bournemouth last season. Pohang just feel a bit like Chelsea at the moment. Very good going forwards, but crosses are a problem, and not massively confident in the keeper for Pohang. I mean, despite recent good form. But yeah, just coming back to Song Min Kyu, who I mentioned earlier, got the goal for Pohang. Been impressed by him. He plays wide left for Pohang, and he's really stepped up since Palisevich got injured, and the team needed him to do that as well. I spoke about him earlier in the season. The sense that he got then was that he gets into good positions, but just needs to convert those positions into goals, and he's doing that. He's now got 4 goals in his last 3 games, and 5 for the season in total, which is a goal every other game, which is good. A couple of assists in the mix, and he's only 20 as well. So
yeah, real talent, real talent. It's a very good player.
So your game finished there. Pohang 1, Suwon 1. Pohang stay on this little unbeaten run they're on. They move up to 4th. Suwon also move up. With that point, they go to 8th. The final game on Saturday was Incheon United at home to Sangju Sangmu. Incheon in 12th, only 4 goals scored this season. Sangju Sangmu were K1's form team. They hadn't conceded in 372 minutes, but only scored 4 goals in that time. In terms of results, that meant they were on a run of 1-0s, and it looked like it was going that way here. But then, Tom, late drama, Incheon steal a point.
Yeah, I mean, it was brilliant. Nobody saw this coming? I mean, well, I suppose you could probably say Yumi predicted an Incheon win, but, realistically, nobody saw this coming. And yeah, I credit to them because, playing the last, what was it, half an hour with 9 men, and they still managed to dig in and get a result with the last kick of the game. That just shows the effort that they put in. I mean, yeah, it's certainly 2 points dropped from Sangju, but this is a point gained for Incheon, and it's I don't know, maybe they can take something from it this week in training, and they'll be I'm sure they'll be buzzing, because come the final whistle, they like on the bench on the side, it looked like they were celebrating a win rather than a point, and it felt like a win. I mean, I thought Incheon were decent in the first half. They didn't offer much going forward, but that's as per usual. But they defended well and they were organised. I mean, I guess it helps because Sangju aren't the most creative going forward, so this kind of followed that pattern. And then once Sangju took the lead, almost instantly in the second half, we kind of thought, all right, well, Sangju will probably go on to score 2 or 3, but then you think about it and actually, well, no, Sangju love a 1-0 win, so this would have been 5 in a row, wouldn't it? So kind of thought, maybe 1-0 is going to be 1-0, but once the red cards started coming, then you just assume, all right, Sangju are going to win this comfortably. Their goal, and it's another one with question marks on the goalkeeper. He came out for a corner and he was beaten to it by Oh, who got a head in. You also got to look at the defence, though, probably a little bit more than the keeper, because nobody followed the run. It was a completely free header into the empty net. All right, if the keeper doesn't come, then he's got a chance of saving it, but he's got to be helped out by his defence there. I know. What did you think of that one? Do you think it's a bit harsh to call the keeper out on that, or do you think it was a bit of both?
I think my first thoughts were the keeper could have done better. So I think it was the right decision to come out and claim the ball, but he just seemed a bit too passive. He just seemed to be waiting for the ball to come to him, whereas Oh Se-hun went to meet the ball, and that was the difference. And so I mean, I'm not as au fait with kind of football tactics and set piece defending as you are. So yeah, maybe the defenders could have done a bit better. But yeah, my first thought was the goalkeeper. But I mean, we mentioned decisions, and you mentioned the red cards, and it was a bit of a strange one, really, because I think this game, I think probably most people won't have been paying too much attention to this one. And I think we both only kind of had half an eye on this one, and I barely even noticed. Well, I completely missed the red cards, and it seemed like most people on Twitter missed the red cards as well.
Yeah.
I guess that's the fun of watching a sports league on the other side of the world. But
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was, like we say, we were watching multiple games, and this was like my second game. I was watching the Seongnam game had the majority of my attention, like the Pohang one did with you, and yeah, I didn't actually see the red cards in real time either. Like live, it was yeah, it was. I think it was just kind of that time in the game when things were happening in the other game, and that had caught my attention. Yeah, so I don't really have an awful lot to say about the red cards because I didn't see them.
Yeah, I mean, I went back and watched the highlights on the. So these are the official highlights from the K League YouTube channel, and the first red card, Lee Jae-ho, was a straight red on the 51st minute. Highlights just didn't show it; just completely ignored it.
It goes from one goal to one attack, and then nothing in between. And the only thing you see is just that little red card in the corner above Incheon's name. You're just left running. What happened there? But it was. Yeah, so that was another one, and that was in the extended highlights as well. They do like a 2-minute clip, but then they put the extended ones up on the main YouTube channel. And yeah, so yeah, have to go and start reading some of the Korean papers, I guess, to get a match report and find out what actually happened there.
The second red that came on the 62nd minute, Song Si-woo, and I did see that one on the highlights, and that was the second yellow. First yellow was a bit kind of fussy, really. He came through the defender. But you kind of look at that and think, okay, fair enough. I mean, referees use cards to control the game and just make sure things don't get out of hand. So I'm fine with that first yellow, but the second yellow was just crazy, really. Song, so it came. So Song was on the ball and he was attacking, and he was attacking the Incheon box, and he goes past one man, but he just kind of loses control of the ball, and Incheon clear it. And then Song just kind of collides with the defender, bounces off the defender, and goes down. And he's not appealing for it, but the referee blew straight away and gave him a yellow card for diving, which was absolutely shocking, I thought. And we saw a few strange decisions, and I wonder if just maybe last week or during the week, there's been something going on with the referees, and they've been clamping down on certain things. I mean, to be honest, I didn't think simulation or diving was an issue in K1. I've hardly seen any of it whatsoever, but it looked like the referee was just kind of looking out for it. As I said, Song didn't appeal for it. Referee gives him a second yellow, and it was pretty shocking, I thought.
In general, the refereeing this season has been a lot better than it has in previous years. And like last year, there was some, I guess it's one of those things that with the VAR that they've got used to it and they're using it a little bit better. Okay, not perfect, because we just talked about the Suwon goal that was chalked off as well. It's not perfect, but it's certainly better than it was last year for sure. But yeah, I didn't see these red cards, so I can't really comment honestly on them. But generally I think the refereeing has got better. But yeah, I'll bow to your wisdom on this. So poor Incheon, we're down to 9 men, and yeah, it seems that although we don't know about the first one, but the second one certainly seems that it was harsh.
So that's it. So that was in the 62nd minute. So setting the scene, Gwangju are 1-0 up. Incheon are down to 9 men. Tom, take us through the rest of the game.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got half an hour, and you just think, well, when you're playing 9 men, even if you don't go gung ho, you keep the ball and you just pass it round them. You tire them out and you just drag them out of shape. And Gwangju didn't seem to do it. It seemed that at 1-0 against 9 men, they kind of relaxed and thought, well, we've won this. They're not going to attack. They're not going to score. And if they do, we'll just outnumber them. And they seemed to settle for the 1-0. I mean, they did have a couple of chances, a couple of attacks, but it was no real, well, for me, there was nothing. I don't know, they didn't really seem to go for it. It didn't seem that they thought, all right, we need to get 2-3, put this game to bed. They just seemed to settle, in my opinion anyway. And this reliance on 1-0 wins, it's come back to bite them in the arse. It was 92nd minute. And I think you've got to give Incheon a lot of credit here. They launched a counter-attack. It was a lovely cross-field pass. It's hit to Kim Do-hyuk, who then hit his cross on the volley, first time for Jeonbuk to tap in. And when you just look at 3 passes, you think, oh, that's a nice goal. But then when they actually take it back a little bit further and you see where it began. You think, you know what, that's really, really good from Incheon. It was a really nice goal. So it was two perfect passes, like for the crossfield pass, for Kim to then hit on the volley. It had to be absolutely perfect to be on his foot. And then that's a really hard skill to hit a first time volleyed cross that goes just in between defence and goalkeeper for the on-running forward to tap in. So it's three really nice bits of play. But also, Ji, who's, is a striker, he had run from the left back spot. This is the 92nd minute when you've played half an hour with 9 men. He's a striker and he's back defending for Incheon. So he's probably absolutely knackered after such a long game, for them. He bust a gut to run the length of the pitch, and he was rewarded with a really easy finish for him. But the finish fine, but it's him actually running from the left back spot that gives him the credit. But you got to look at Sangju, and like nobody followed him. It's 60, 70 yards he must have run. I would love to see that length of run, and when they show you the speed that he got up to, considering how late it was in the game. So yeah, I mean, you could criticise Sangju for not putting the game to bed. You can criticise him for their defence, but actually, for once, which isn't normally like me, I want to concentrate on the positives, because it's some comeback for Incheon with half an hour with 9 men. 10 minutes more of that they had 10 men. Who knows? Maybe the great escape begins here.
I mean, yeah, like you say, it was a very well executed goal, because Sangju did have defenders back, but they just took it really well, which was, like you say, it was remarkable given they were down to 9 men, and given that, well, basically that they're Incheon and they just don't score that many goals. I wanted to ask you about Sangju though, and you just touched on it briefly there. Things coming back to bite Sangju, all these 1-0s, and whether this is a sustainable run. And I was looking at the stats, and they don't score many goals, and it's kind of a mid-table number, roughly about the same as Suwon, Busan, Gangwon. Well, Gangwon we'll come on to, but also a third of their goals have come via penalties. Where realistically do you see Sangju finishing?
I think they're not as good as Pohang, Daegu, Ulsan, and of course Jeonbuk, but like those teams you mentioned, I think they're of a similar level to them, and I think they'll be in the top 6 come the split. Well, obviously, come the end of the season, if you make the split, then that's where you finish. But yeah, they don't score a huge amount of goals, but they're organised. They don't concede a lot of 1-0 wins. Yeah, I think 5th or 6th, and that's about right for them as well.
This could just be a bit of a wake-up call for them as well, which won't do them any harm. So your final score there: Incheon 1, Sangju 1. Incheon stay bottom of the league. There is daylight between them and 11th, but with the teams above them not pulling up trees, a win, maybe 2 wins, would certainly make things interesting. Jeonbuk up next, though, as we'll come on to later in our Gameeweek 12 preview. So could be a difficult one there. Sangju, they'll be kicking themselves. However, other results see them hold on to 3rd. Okay, let's move on to Sunday's games. So on Saturday, we had more drama than we were expecting. Sunday had probably the more interesting games on paper, though, and we also had 9 goals on Sunday to feast on. 2 games there. We'll start with Gangwon FC at home to Gwangju FC. Gangwon were in 7th, and only Incheon were on worse form coming into this, Gangwon having lost their last 4 in the league. They had Ko Mu-yeol up front, who had the 2nd best goals to game ratio behind Ulsan's Junior Negrao, of course. Gwangju were at 8th and had lost their last 3. However, those were against good teams, and Gwangju had showed quite a lot of fighting spirit in those matches. They also had their own man up top in good form in the shape of Brazilian striker Felipe, who had 5 in 10 coming into this. But it was Ko Mu-yeol's boys who got the 3 points in a big win and a return of Gangwon style.
Yeah. They needed the win as well. I'd say it's been a while, and it helps when you get an early goal. Obviously early goals change games. So, and it was a really, really nice finish on the half volley from Cho Jae-won. It's such a difficult skill. He'd taken the original corner, which wasn't fully clear. I think from memory, the keeper did get a punch on it. Fairly decent. It went across the other side of the box. So another cross came back in, and Cho had got himself back on side, and he'd got himself into the box. He was probably about halfway between the 6-yard box and the 18-yard box, but on the side rather than in front of the goal. And yeah, he just absolutely hit it perfectly first time, and it was, beyond the keeper before he barely moved. And yeah, really, really nice goal. And I think that helps a huge amount when you go 1-0 up quite early on, doesn't it? So it was pretty even for the rest of the half. And there were 2 late goals in the half, so it actually went in at half-time 2-1. And Felipe got his customary goal. It's not from a set piece. It was a well-hit left foot effort. And now I think we kind of had this conversation texting each other during the game, and I'd say there are some question marks on the keeper for sure. But then, like, first time round, I was thinking, oh, just really good hit because it's very powerful. And then you see one of the replays and you realise, it just goes dead straight. It doesn't, there's no curve on it, no swerve. But still, first replay, I thought, good goal, good hit. And then there is one replay behind the goal, and you see it brushes, I think, his forearm or his bicep, but it is right next to him, and his arm is there. And it's like he moved his arm out of the way of the ball rather than in the way. And for me, then the telling point is the keeper's reaction afterwards. He's distraught, like he's on the floor, head in his hands, knowing. And I think that shows to me that he knows he could have done better there. But maybe just give credit to Felipe for such a clean strike. So mark that down as, probably could have done better, but also good goal as well. But with just seconds remaining, a couple of minutes after this, seconds remaining in the half, Gangwon took the lead again, and it was a nice bit of build-off play, and it saw the ball being laid off to Gwangju, who practically passed it into the net. It was a really nice goal, and it was just laid off to him. And I think possibly actually, if the ball hadn't fallen to him, I thought there might have been a penalty in that as well, because he laid it off, but he also got taken out at the same time. And then Lee Jae-kwon just, really calm, side-footed in. And I think probably just deserved half-time lead. But, Gwangju was still in the game. It was only 1 goal in. It's still in the game till about the 75th minute when Kim Ji-hyun got a third. It was a lovely goal as well. It was, again, it was laid off to him, and it was nice pace on the ball to him. He was right on the edge of the box, and he just placed it. He didn't power it, quite different to Felipe. He didn't just put his laces through. It was really, really nice side foot, not much power, and just curled it right along the deck, and it was perfectly inside the post. Really nice goal, actually. I think that was really, I like that kind of finish. Just, when it's placed and the keeper dives, and you just there's like a foot of space that ball could have gone into. If it had been any closer to the keeper saved it. If it had gone any way the other side, it would have hit the post. It was perfect. And then Cho Jae-won made it a really emphatic victory. He got his second of the game. First time finish from a Kim Kyung-jung cutback. Pretty easy finish for a player of his quality. So really good win for Gangwon. And then unfortunately for Gwangju, their evening got worse, and it was Felipe was hobbling off, and it was holding his hamstring, but there weren't any replays of him like in full sprint, and then he just stops dead in his tracks holding his thing, kind of like Gary Cahill did the other day against the Chelsea game for Palace, when he just his hamstring went and he was on the floor in agony. It wasn't like that. He wasn't walking very well, and he'd signalled for the sub, and he was holding his hamstring. So that if it is anything serious, that's a really, really bit of worrying news for Gwangju. If it's not, then hopefully he'll be back fit, playing for their next game, either in the cup this week or for the league next weekend. But if it is serious, then it's a big issue for Gwangju, because he really is their only goal threat. He's scored more than half of their goals this season on his own, and you take that out of any team, the same. If you took Junior out of Ulsan, they've got Big Bjorn to come off the bench and take his place, but it's not the same. And I think that would be a real big issue for them if he isn't fit.
Yeah, certainly will be. Your final score there was Gangwon 4, Gwangju 1. Gangwon's goals see them move into 6th place ahead of Busan on goals scored, which is the first decider when you've got teams on level points in K1. Gwangju dropped to 10th, and that's now 4 losses in 4 for Gwangju, and potentially a spell on the sidelines for Felipe. And these two teams get to go again midweek in the cup. And last but by no means least, final game of the weekend, which was the match of the game week, certainly on paper. And we welcome Yumi back in to this to go through this with us. And it was Daegu FC at home to Ulsan Hyundai. Daegu were fourth and one of the form teams in K1. They'd scored 21 goals this season, second best with Pohang, and averaging 3.4 goals in their last 5. Pulling the strings for them in the number 10 role is Cecilia, the little magician. Ulsan was second. They'd scored 23 goals, which was, of course, the best in K1. And they, of course, had K1's top scorer in the form of Cecilia's compatriot, Junior Negrao, aka the Smiling Assassin. Not my nickname, by the way. That's what other people are calling him. But a win by Daegu here would blow open the top 5. But they hadn't beaten Ulsan in the league since June 2013. And Tom, that run continued as Ulsan get 3 crucial points.
Yeah, and it was a really good performance from Ulsan as well. Yeah, it was a bit of an underwhelming first half. I guess there's some pressure. Both sides knew how important a win would be. But it was Ulsan who came out the winners. And Yumi, you caught this one, didn't you, this morning?
Yeah, this was the only game I managed to catch this weekend. I think we've been raving about how enjoyable Daegu are the team to watch this season. They've been really fun, but Ulsan just blew them away, didn't they? Especially in the second half, I thought they were very good. I really enjoyed watching Ulsan attacking like that. So, yeah, like what was it? Wondu J in defensive midfield. He kept Cecilia quiet. He's been getting the headlines. He's not usually the player to get the headlines in Korea, but he was in the spotlight this week. And I know I rave about him a lot, but Lee Chung-young was pulling the strings. I mean, I thought he was very good on the wings. I think that's what he's good at, best at, just flying down the wing in that. And I think it just showed why Ulsan are strong contenders this season for the title, even as good as Daegu are this season. I think Ulsan were deserving of that win.
Yeah, I saw a lot of chat about those two guys today as well, about how well they played, and also just from neutrals, there was quite a lot of praise for how good Ulsan looked going forward. In particular, I think there's I guess unless you're a Jeonbuk fan, for fans of other teams or for neutrals, and Ulsan winning the league would be more enjoyable, just because it's nice to see somebody break it up, and also because of how close they got last year as well. So it was a good win. I mean, even if Daegu had won, then it would have made the title race possibly a 3-way race. It would have been really close.
Yeah.
So this game was kind of a no lose for the neutral, but yeah, like you say, Lee Chung-young played really well. He got an assist for the first goal. It was a really easy finish for Shin Jin-ho, but it was an easy finish because it was just a perfect cross that went, between defence and goalkeeper across the 6-yard box. I guess he was a little bit fortunate that he had so much time and space, because there was a slip from the Daegu defender, Kim Dong-jin, but it was so wet and so slippery out there. There's no blame on the defence there. The weather looked absolutely atrocious, but that was 1-0, and then Junior did what he does. He added more goals to his tally. He got the second. Good touch, good turn, good finish from him. Defence, question marks about that. They were all over the shop, but you just can't stop the big man scoring these days. And he also got the third later. It was a lovely team move that ended with Kim In-sung cutting the ball back perfectly for a first-time finish. Daegu briefly looks like getting back into it. They made it 2-1 just a couple of minutes after Junior's first goal. But Ulsan were pretty much in control, and even Junior getting a boot to his unmentionables couldn't stop him. That one looked extremely painful.
That looked painful.
But for Daegu, it was disappointing. Kim Dong-jin's goal in the end, he was quickest to react to a loose ball in the box following Jong Tae-uk's header. But in the end, it was nothing more than a consolation. If that, really. At 2-1, Cecilia did have a half chance, but he should have hit the target, really. But he fired it over. Other than that, Ulsan were just a better team. You think Ulsan, Yumi just thought Ulsan were better?
Yeah, definitely. I thought Daegu, it's not their best game that they played, and there were some question marks at the back as well. I mean, to see they Ulsan just made them look very average, which is rare this season. And Daegu have been like flying this season, but they just couldn't stop Ulsan really. Lee Gun-ho had a really good chance. Did you see that one with like a turning? He kind of turned his body with a shot and it just thumped off the crossbar. That was a really good chance. I thought that was it going in definitely, but it just kind of shows Ulsan, like their squad is actually building quite well, because to have a sub, to have Lee Gun-ho as a sub, who's such a veteran and he's known for scoring so many goals in his career, to have him on the bench is kind of showing how Ulsan, they're kind of building a really good squad here. They're probably not as strong as Jeonbuk at the moment, but compared to the last couple of seasons, they're really trying to build something there. It's quite exciting times for Ulsan fans.
Yeah, it was a really good effort from him. He was off the bench and so it cannoned off the crossbar. It kind of that was when it was 2-1. It was only a minute or so before Junior's goal to make it 3-1. So when that hit the crossbar, I think, maybe Daegu got a chance. But yeah, no, he would. And of course, Bjorn Johnson, he was their big signing over the winter, and I can't remember him starting a game. He's certainly spent most of the games on the bench. So to have firepower like that on the bench as well, I think, they're looking really good.
And Tom, I'll get your thoughts on this later. But Yumi, while we've got you, what's the sense in Korea now in terms of the favourites for the title race? Because Jeonbuk have been top for a while, and Ulsan have just edged ahead with this win. Has that kind of shifted the balance in terms of perceptions and who's most likely to win the league?
I think definitely Korean fans are excited about this title race. It's going to be a close one, we think. I agree with Tom with saying the neutrals. They definitely want Ulsan to be the title winners this season, just to have something different, something refreshing, not to have the same team kind of over and over again, champions, and especially what happened to them last season. I think all the neutrals would love Ulsan to lift that title, and especially the national hero Lee Chung-young being there as well. Like, everyone was so hyped up about him coming back to Korea, and to have him lift the trophy with Ulsan, that would bring a smile to everyone's face, except Jeonbuk fans probably.
Excellent, thanks very much. Your final score there: Daegu 1, Ulsan 3. Daegu dropped to 5th. That brings their 7-match unbeaten streak to an end. 2 losses for them in K1, but those were against Jeonbuk and now Ulsan, which is fair enough. And Ulsan go top of the league for the first time. Right, so how did we do with our predictions? Well, not very well is the answer. And Tom, you drew a blank.
Yeah, I had an absolute shocker this week. I guess like most people, probably predicting a Jeonbuk win and a Pohang win. Didn't go with Ulsan, which is probably the obvious one that I missed out on. But yeah, an awful week. Yeah,
all those 3 draws on Saturday were a bit of a killer. Yumi got 2 right, and I only got 2 right as well. So low scoring on the predictions. So Tom, you're on 30 overall. I draw level with you. I'm on 30 as well, and Yumi's on 25. 66 games played in total, so 30 isn't too bad really. So could be worse. In terms of the actual K1 table, every team in K1 has now played every other team. How does it look? Well, Ulsan go top of K1 after an excellent victory away at Daegu and a win for the top 5 this week. They are 1 point ahead of Jeonbuk in second. And there's a bit of daylight between the top 2 and Sangju Sangmu, who are 4 points behind. Hot on their tails, though, are Pohang and Daegu. They're 1 and 2 points behind Sangju, respectively. Then a little bit of a gap of 5 points down to Gangwon and Busan. And below them, 4 teams on 4 points: Suwon, Gwangju, Seoul and Seongnam. And Incheon 7 points off those. In terms of the goal scorers, of course, with that brace, Ulsan's Junior Negrao extends his lead at the top. He's now on 14. Pohang Silichenko on 7, along with Daegu's Cecilia. And Gwangju's Felipe moves on to 6. Tom, any final thoughts on Game Week 11?
Without wanting to upset any Jeonbuk fans, I'm pleased that they didn't win. I think it's really good for the league that Ulsan have now moved up into first. Obviously, Ulsan were top for the first couple of game weeks, but nobody really counts the league table for the first 2 or 3 games. You got to wait a few games before it really gets going. So it kind of feels like Ulsan have, it feels like we've got a new league leader really, and it's going to be a really good title race. I think. Just really looking forward to it, and I would like Incheon to get a win soon. Whether they can do it this week against Jeonbuk, I would absolutely love it. But exactly. Massive fingers crossed for that. That would be brilliant. But who knows? Who knows? That point for Incheon, and they deserved it. They did deserve it. So credit to them for sticking with it, and hopefully we can get a few wins for Incheon and have a bit of a relegation battle as well.
Yeah, that'd be good. I mean, that's one thing for me. I mean, Sangju Sangmu, of course, automatically getting relegated, which of course means this season that there's only one league position at the bottom, which is a relegation position rather than 11th and 12th going on, and that's a bit of a shame really, because it's pretty tight down at the bottom. I mean, as I said, you've got 4 teams on 10 points there, and even Gangwon and Busan in mid-table 6th and 7th, they're still within kind of touching distance of Seongnam in 11th. So bit of a shame, but it's still exciting down there. I guess those are going for the 6th place trophy, if you like, because it looks like now the top 5 really are the top 5 there. I think they're the clear best 5 teams in the league. Sangju, I think you're maybe a bit more positive on them than I am, but they are there on merit. So we'll see how they go. But yeah, been a fun season so far.
Yeah, I mean, in a regular season, the 11th place team would go into a relegation promotion playoff with aside from K2. So that would have been something that would be very exciting towards, especially as you say, there's so many teams level on points or really close to each other down there who will be battling out for that 11th place. So hopefully Incheon can get a couple of wins and maybe give the other sides a little bit of a scare, because at the minute there isn't a huge amount of jeopardy for the teams down at the bottom. So it would be nice if they could get a couple of wins out of who knows where, but just somewhere. And it could be a close end to the season.
Remember, obviously, a couple of weeks ago, Jeonbuk did beat Ulsan, and we said it wasn't kind of crucial as such in terms of the title race, but it was a battle that Jeonbuk won. Obviously, Ulsan have just gone slightly ahead in the league. Do you think Ulsan have just edged in front in terms of favourites for the K1 title?
I'm not sure. Ulsan, I think, play better football, but Jeonbuk are a winning machine, really. They grind results out. Okay, they didn't win on the weekend, but they were still 2-0 down and they came back. They are a good side. And I think because I don't particularly mind who wins out of Jeonbuk or Ulsan. So I would, at the minute, I would say Ulsan, because I prefer watching them. I think they're better, but I can appreciate how good Jeonbuk are with getting results, which, whereas when you watch the Premier League, maybe you have a bit more riding on it because it's the league that you followed all your life, and I want Spurs to win at all costs, and so every other game I'm watching, all I'm thinking about is which team winning benefits Spurs more. I don't have that with the K League so much, so I can enjoy watching every game. And in answer to your question, I think it's going to be really, really close. I wouldn't like to call it between them. I think Ulsan play slightly better football, have done the last few weeks, but I think Jeonbuk are probably a bit more of a winning machine. So I think it's going to be really close. I'm really, really looking forward to the rest of the season.
Excellent. Thanks for that. That's our Game Week 11 recap done and dusted. And we'll be back after this short break with our Game Week 12 preview. Right, let's move on to Game Week 12. Let's start on Saturday. No Friday game, so let's start Saturday. Busan iPark at home to Gwangju FC. Busan in 7th, Gwangju in 9. Busan unbeaten in 5, but the last team to beat them in the league, well, that was Gwangju back in Gameeweek 6. Gwangju, though, 4 losses on the spin for them. Can Busan continue their good form?
I think Busan looked good at both ends of the pitch against Seoul, actually. I thought they defended well and they attacked well. If they can keep Felipe quiet, then I would say they're a good shout for a home win. But I think Gwangju have got just enough about them to get a draw. So I'm going to go with a draw on the proviso that if Felipe's injury rules him out, then I can reserve the right to change my decision and predict a home win on the match day. So I'm going draw unless Felipe's injured.
I'll go slightly differently with a Busan home win. I think Gwangju, they're on a little bit of a slump at the moment. I think Busan have enough to beat them this round.
I'm going with Busan 2 for this one. Right, Sangju Sangmu at home to Daegu FC. Sangju are in 3rd, Daegu in 5th. Sangju will be furious they couldn't hold on to the win against Incheon. Daegu, they'll want to bounce back after their loss to Ulsan, but Sangju don't give much away.
I will go with a draw. Two good sides, one good defence, one good attack. So I think they're just going to cancel each other out here. It's one of those where I wouldn't be surprised any 3 of the results. So sit on the fence and go with a draw.
I'll probably stick with the Daegu win. I predicted a Daegu win beforehand, so I'll stick with that one. I think they'll try to bounce back from this round. So Daegu win for me.
Same here. I'm going for Daegu win as well. I think just going back to the stat from last week, when Sangju lose, they lose big, and Daegu's the type of team that they lose to. So Daegu win for me. Also on Saturday, FC Seoul at home to Pohang Steelers. FC Seoul in 10th, Pohang in 4th. The Capital Club have only won 3 games this season, but one of those wins was against Pohang. Seoul's season has somewhat collapsed since then, and Pohang on decent form. Tom, is this just going to form here with Pohang?
Yep, definite Pohang win for me. Seoul looked so clueless going forward and leaky at the back, so I can't see them outscoring anybody at the minute, let alone Pohang. So I think this is going to be a relatively straightforward Pohang win.
Yeah, Seoul's on a really bad run of form, and they're just not playing well, are they? I see this as a Pohang win, nothing else.
Same for me. Come on, Steeler Nation. Moving on to Sunday, Ulsan Hyundai at home to Gangwon FC. Ulsan top of the tree after game week 11. Gangwon in 6th. They'll be happy to have snapped their losing streak and snapping it in style, but the last team you want to face right now is Ulsan.
Yeah, and that's why I'm going to go with a home win and think Ulsan looks very good today, as did Gangwon, but Ulsan are a class above Gangwon, and I think a relatively straightforward home victory.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching Ulsan this round, and I think I see it as a home win.
Same here, full house Ulsan. Suwon Samsung Blue Wings at home to Seongnam. Suwon in 8th, but have just started scoring a few goals recently. Seongnam in 11th and finding it tough going at the moment. This match maybe one for one purists.
Yeah, well, it's a geographical derby, as we've said before. Two sides fairly close to each other, and although Seongnam did really well to in the end to get a point against Jeonbuk, even when you're 2-0 up, it's still a good point for them. I'm going to just side with a home victory here for Suwon. I'm not entirely sure why, but yeah, I've just got a feeling that Suwon might get the win here. I wouldn't be shocked if it was 0-0 though.
I'll go for a draw. Suwon not playing very well, and Seongnam, I don't know what happened to Seongnam after that flying start, and Kim Nam-il got manager of the month and everything. I think that kind of jinxed it, and they've been on a little bit of a slide after that. But I'll see it as a draw for those teams.
Yeah, tough one to call here, really, because Suwon have been getting a few goals, but it's hard to really back them. Although that's what I've done, so I've gone for a Suwon win in this. I think they just got a bit too much for Seongnam, but we'll see. And the final game, Incheon United versus Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors. Incheon in 12th, Jeonbuk in 2nd. Jeonbuk have only once scored more than 2 goals in a game, and that was against FC Seoul. Chance for them to remedy that here, do you think?
Let's let Yumi go first.
You know what I'm going to predict? I never go against my team. They're going to let me down again for sure, though.
I would love them to win. I really, really would love an Incheon win here. I can't predict that, though. I'm going to have to say I've got very little to say other than a Jeonbuk to smash Incheon here to really get a few goals. But, you know, Jeonbuk will be hurting from drop points. Incheon will be on a high from their draw, but Jeonbuk will have too much for them. But I would love a home win, Yumi. I really would.
Yeah, I've gone for Jeonbuk here. I mean, it's a tricky one with Incheon. Do they have to get players sent off before they score goals? Is that how Incheon work these days? Yeah, a difficult one. Fingers crossed for a win. I mean, that'd be amazing if Incheon win, but
not going to happen.
Not going to happen. Yeah. So there we go. Those are our predictions. You can follow along with those. We'll put those out on social media closer to game week 12 and the start of that. And also, we'll see if Tom wants to update any of his predictions before the game week.
Just the one. I'm only waiting on injury news from Felipe. That's the only one, because I just think he's so important to them. I think he makes the world of difference. Without him, I don't think they've got a chance.
Yeah, he's a crucial player, and I can't really think of another team which relies so much on one player as Gwangju do with Felipe. Right, well, there we go. That's our Game Week 11 pod done and dusted. Tom, Yumi, thank you very much. Kamsahamnida.
Kamsahamnida.
Thank you.
Kamsahamnida to you too, listener. You can stay up to speed with us on social media at Gazzetta Korea on Twitter. We're also on YouTube, where we host the video version of these podcasts, and we're on Facebook as well. In the meantime, stay subscribed to the podcast, and we look forward to catching up with you next weekend for some more K-League action.